Hi, everybody. I'm Renee, and I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Renee.
Happy Father's Day to all the heroes. My father is one of the ultimate rock stars in my life, and thank God he's still with me, and I cherish every second I have still with him. So get home and be with your kids if you're a dad, and call those dads today. I'm not nervous. I'm excited. I really do get excited. I have a feeling that, when I have that closeness with God, that has really been my replacement for what I chased out there for so many years. It's almost like I can't, my tolerance for not having that feeling, motivates me every day to get closer and closer to that higher power that runs my life. God is just knocks my socks off every single day. And my job is just to keep that channel open. And when I feel it get a little clogged up, I'm actively looking what I can do to clear it up. And it's just amazing. So my sobriety date is March 21st, 1992. I got a basket in my room, and I'm so excited. I feel like I've arrived. I'm a speaker CD. I'm a speaker CD junkie, and I always, thank the host, and I hear the speakers thank the host, and the committee and all that, and I thank you all very much. And I was like, I saw the basket, and I was like, I got a basket. And Diane, I'm crying. So thank you, Kate. The basket is so cute. I love all those things. I'm very proud to be a Marylander. So I know where all those things come from and how special they are to us. And I just, when John said, I really want you to speak at this thing, they've asked me to get the speakers, and I said, nah, I don't think that's a good idea. They're going to think you're partial, and you don't want to have all the rumors going around. Oh, he asked his wife, how we are. And he said, no, I ran it by a couple of the guys we really respect and love, and the guys that he asked about, I truly love and respect. And they said, no, I think you're right on the money there. So, who am I? It is so not about me. And people have asked John before, can you send me Renee's talk? And I don't have a talk. I have my life story, but okay, the last time I talked, I was telling you, I talked in Chicago, and that was during the snowstorm. I got stuck in Chicago this winter. And what has happened and shifted in me since that time, because every day I'm seeking God, and I'm growing, and I'm changing, and I'm loving people, and people are loving me, and I'm changing. I'm not the same girl that was talking down there in the wintertime. And the people that are close to me absolutely know that to be true. The past 6 months God has used me and transformed me and shifted my spirit in a way I never could have imagined. And we'll get to that, I guess. So anyway, I'm a Irish Catholic, very proud. Pub drinking, sticky floor, dark and dingy, not glamorous, not a chilled mug. Milwaukee's best warm, keg tap, attached to the mouth. I did not drink, fancy from day one. I chugged my first beer and I burped, and that's the tone it took and that was 6th grade camp. And I grew up in Rockville, and it was city. I was a city girl. I loved hanging out in D.C., and they took us to 6th grade camp to show us a cow and a chicken and, what those things were. And it was interesting. And so anyway, I don't know, I found beer in that experience. Probably the counselors had cool cars or something, I don't remember. But anyway, and I didn't black out and I didn't get sick, but, I burped and I chugged the whole thing, and it wasn't for the taste, it was definitely to see what was going to happen. And so anyway, I never drank for just to be social or have fun, never. And I was a blackout drinker, and anyway, so I don't have, you're lucky. I don't have, when I grew up, and everyone takes a sigh, I don't remember any of my childhood from before 2nd grade, the night that my father left our home. And my brother was 1, and I remember my parents sitting me down telling me that he was leaving. And he, like I told you already, he was my hero. And that's when my childhood memories started, from that night. Now I have photo albums of what the childhood looked like before that night, and it was pretty amazing, but I don't have a memory of that. I just remember like my soul had been ripped out, and I was confused. and sad, and that's it. And when I found alcohol, it was not, I don't have the thought it was the elixir, it was this, it was that, it was, I just craved more, and I just, it was what I was going to be. I was going to grow up, I was going to be an alcoholic, biker chick, escort service, just, I had this vision of what, I was going to follow AC/DC around and be a road girl, and God had such a different plan for me. It's not even, Anyway, I remember, I don't know, maybe because when I got drunk and I always tried to take my clothes off, I thought I was supposed to be a stripper. I don't know what happened. But I was that girl at the bar, trying to dance on the bar, on the table, and my sponsor, when she describes herself as a drunken hussy, I was like, you're the sponsor for me. That's, but anyway, so I always had a hole inside my soul that was dark and deep, and I had no idea how to fill it, how to make it go away. There were things that happened to me in my childhood that shouldn't happen to any other human being, and I had no idea what to do with that information. This was before therapy was popular. This was, growing up with a single mom working 3 jobs. She had no idea what to do with some of the information that she knew, but some of the information she didn't know. There were no cops called or sex offender list or any of that stuff, and it was just like, I got to go to work. You got to take care of your brother. We don't have, just shove it under the rug. And, I was scared, and I had no idea that I was scared, and I just thought, well, I'm going to just self-fulfill this life. And, after doing many, many inventories in this program, I have no doubt where my sex conduct came from. And when you start out that part of your life and it's so twisted and so dark, you don't have anything to go on that's loving and kind and giving and warm. And so, it took me a lot of outside help. It took me a lot of healing to be able to participate in a loving, kind relationship, intimate relationship with anybody. So anyway, I raised that 1-year-old little brother. I was in 2nd grade, 3rd grade, and my mom was a disco, single mom, worked never was home, and I was the one home raising this baby when I wasn't in school. And I was getting angry, I guess, because I was drinking more and more and more, and I played sports, and I believe it saved my life because I had to clean up long enough to get through the season, and I was in the papers, and my parents never came to any of my games. I think back to how actively involved we've been with our children, our 3 children, and John always coached. I was always the team mom, and I was dragging a little toddler around with me to all my games because I was his babysitter, and doing my thing on my own and walking, and no one was driving me around. I've never complained once about driving my kids around like a lunatic. It's a gift. It's a gift to be able to do that for my children. Now they all drive, and they drive me around, but so anyway, I survived somehow, some way, and it was talked about last night, is that I probably would have killed myself if I hadn't found drugs and alcohol. And I was a blackout drinker. I'd come to down in DC at the bottom of the Exorcist steps, or if I made it to the top, behind the dumpster, I thought was a great place to seek shelter, and it was nice and warm and cozy, or the iron, the metal dumpster was cool in the summer. I don't know, and I would make it that far, and then I'd have to figure out how to get to Rockville when I'd come to, and it wasn't pretty. And the kind of life I lived was dark, and I got through. I don't know. We do know how. Alcoholics are amazing people. We're creative, we're smart, I'm a biochem graduate degree, graduated with a biochem degree, and we can do amazing things. And I still don't know, I don't remember going to half of those classes, but. So anyway, I left high school, I survived high school, I left high school, and I went down to Radford, Virginia. I'm gonna go to a place where no one knows me, and I found Appalachian moonshine. And we got along great until we didn't. And I drank with the Appalachian Mountain people with like no teeth. And then I'd figure out how to, I had to still be in this college town and with these college kids. And, I felt more at home with the Appalachian, moonshine people. And so I didn't really, I just didn't know how to deal with myself. I didn't know how to have any kind of intimate relationship with anyone. The hole was getting darker and dingier, and I was more lonely and more afraid. And I was going to check myself into a institution because I could not stop drinking, and I would come to after 3 or 4 days of a blackout. And here, at this point, I'm functioning, I'm doing things, I'm getting bounce check charges, and because I like to write checks in blackouts, and things are getting emptier and emptier and emptier in my soul. And I was an altar girl. I loved church. I loved to sit in church. I loved to go into church and cry and be with God. I loved church. I loved the whole thing. I have no bad memories of that. And it was funny, that's where kind of God got me alone. It was like, in this dark place, and he said, your life does not have to be like this. I did not make you to live like this. You have a soul that wants to shine, and alcohol, you got to separate yourself from alcohol some way, somehow. And I called an AA hotline because the seed had been planted, God bless you, the seed had been planted from one of the kids that I had partied with in junior high school, was sober in Bethesda and the Del Rey Club, and he'd asked me to go to meetings, and I, whatever, I don't know what that means, you're leading or you're celebrating, but no thanks. And he never said I was an alcoholic. He never said you should go to an AA meeting. And, usually if you drink a case and a half of beer at a time, he never said that. He never just said anything like that. But anyway, so I called the hotline. I end up at a psych ward meeting. They were bringing in an institution meeting, and I sat there with all the inmate, the psych people, and I found my people. I sat with people who talked about what was going on inside of me, and they told me I never had to feel like I felt again, and it was game on. I fell in love with Alcoholics Anonymous, and I haven't had a drink since, and that was in 1989. And I was removed from the drink, and it took me 3 years to figure out what my disease is. And, I cannot take any mood-altering, out-of-me stuff, okay? And that's taken on a lot of faces in sobriety. You drink enough caffeine and eat enough sugar, you can alter your mood. You can not eat for a week and drink caffeine, and you can alter your mood. And, it was time to get down to causes and conditions. And I believe for me, the ability to let someone love me and knew and trusted that they weren't judging me is what saved my life. The way they hugged me and the way that they loved me and the way that they it was almost like they couldn't get enough of me, and I probably drove them crazy. But they just, I felt it, I wanted it, I knew I couldn't drink anymore, and I knew that other stuff wasn't going to work anymore. God kept getting me alone in those times where it was like, wait a minute, this is not how you have to live your life. And anyway, so I left, I graduated in 4 years, I left Radford. I went to, I found a husband. I said, I have that magnet that goes to the sickest person in the place, and it's just like this, and I was going to be married, and I was going to have kids, and I wanted to be a young mom, and I just knew how it was supposed to be. And I'm sober, right? It doesn't matter, I've done all this other stuff. So anyway, I met him at an AA dance at University of Maryland, and we married, and within 6 months that marriage was going to be over, but I did conceive a beautiful baby girl. And right before, I was about a year before, 89, I hadn't had a drink. 92, I surrendered to the disease. I surrendered to the whole package. I got strung out on Xanax so bad. I rationalized and justified, taking it from my work. I just was keeping the copay. I didn't have to go to a doctor and take a long lunch. I justified it and thought, my husband wasn't coming home, my fiance at the time wasn't coming home, and all the lies started, and I needed to calm down. And so anyway, I walked down the aisle with enough Xanax in me to like kill a cow. And anyway, so no wonder 6 months later it didn't work out. So I surrendered, and God got me alone, and I found an AA club that saved my life. Now, this AA club started with a group of young people from Rockville Metro, and I'm actually married to one of the guys that started that club now. And you want to talk about, God showing up, start a new meeting, start, a new home group and get involved. And, thank God that those young people started that club. That club probably has a lot of people sober. Something very magical happened there. And they loved me up. And I was wackier than I looked like Mrs. T. I was married to a jeweler at the time, and I had more gold hanging from my neck. And I had rings on every finger, and I had a black bodysuit on, a one-piece bodysuit, and it was whack. And my husband now came up to me at the coffee pot, and he said, stick with the women, and I thought, okay. And anyway, that's what I did. I got thrown into service. I understood how cunning, baffling, and powerful my disease was at that point. I knew that I had to get honest, and I did the work. I went through the steps every year for at least 15 years, all the way through. I had 2 different sponsors within 5 years, and for different reasons, I had to move to the next one. And I was pissed because I wanted to have the same sponsor my whole sobriety. I'm one of those. Like, I am an A-type. I'm going to do it perfect. I'm going to turn in my report early. I'm going to show up with my step work ahead of time. And that's just, thank God. That's the way I am. I'm very serious. I don't joke around. Like, sarcasm and I don't do that with me. My whole family knows that. And so anyway, so I was pissed off. But then God sent me someone I stayed with for 15 years who saved my life. And it seemed like it's the kind of sponsor I have today, the more I tell her the stuff that I'm doing wrong or that scares me, the more they love me. And when the bigger the mistake, the more they love me. And if you don't have someone like that in your life, find somebody. I don't have a filter. I can just tell her what's going on. And when I do something really bad, like really, really bad, like, I yell at the kids or I do something, and I'll call her, and she almost like wants to cheer for me, like, this is good, you're being human, you're allowing, and then she'll say, it's not okay, you really need to tell him you're sorry, And so anyway, one of the bright spots of my life today is taking the meeting into the jail. I kind of get defensive because, my husband's like, well, that's not prison. I go to the prison where the real deal is, and I had to let that go, but I go in there on Tuesday night, and my goal always is to shut my eyes, and we have our meeting, and at the end of the meeting, it's like we wouldn't know who has on the stripes and who doesn't. I'm not in there to preach to them. I'm in there to love them and help them fight some demons and get on the right track. And I have them come up to me in meetings, and they'll look at me, and and I can't even recognize them because everyone looks different. When they're in there, they look very different than when they're out there, and they get their makeup back and their hair back, and it's like, wow. And nothing does that to me. Like alcohol used to fake me out doing it, but that feeling that I get when I see them out there, and I thank God for that position today. And I'm not afraid, I'm not afraid to go in there and bare my soul. And, we're crying every meeting. Those girls are breaking down every meeting. And so anyway, those are the kinds of things, doing that and the girls that I sponsor and helping them walk through their demons and finding God in their life is what has replaced that dark, black, nasty hole that just alcohol stopped filling way before I stopped drinking. And the alleys and the bushes and the dumpsters I came to from, when I just think back to how I lived, it was like something I have to continue on a daily basis to not remind myself, it's not about that. It's to stay in a state of gratitude for what God is doing in my life. I don't want to live back there. I've done enough step work, and I love doing step work. I don't hide from the past. I really don't. I've been able to share either from the podium or with another person my deepest, darkest past. I'm free. None of that stuff. I could share the stuff that I was going to take to my grave openly in the right arena with the right people and not even hesitate. It's free. That's not who I am. That's stuff that happened to me. That's stuff I did. But that is not who I am. That's not the core of me. That's been healed and set free. And, you can be around somebody and you can feel that. You can feel someone who's been set free from that. And those are the people that I want to be around today. It's funny, like when someone's mean to me now, it's like, whoa, wait, that was really, because your tolerance for that goes down, and the chaos starts and you're like, what is going on? And it's like, oh my God, I used to live my life every day in this worse chaos than this. But we don't want to live there anymore. It's like we don't desire that anymore. And that's where the shift started to happen in my life. It's like, I want more God. I want more surrender. I want that. I crave that. I need that time with God. I need that time with you all. And when someone will say, I can't get God, I need something I can see and touch and feel. And I think to myself, I see, touch, and feel him every single day. I feel him on me, in me, coming out of me on a daily basis. And when I try to make that not happen, it's miserable real quick. And I do whatever I have to do to fix that. And so anyway, I go through a divorce. I go through leaving that AA guy that I met at the dance, 7 months pregnant, scared out of my mind. I did that third step that wasn't sitting with my sponsor at their desk or at the table we used to do step work out. I jumped off that cliff backwards with my eyes shut, and I left 7 months pregnant, and I knew God had a better plan for me. And I lived on a mattress in a spare bedroom at my mom's and kept going to meetings, and the women carried me. Thank God they didn't believe in carrying a message and not the mess, because I was a mess and they were carrying my butt. And my dear friend and her husband used to, to the point where they would let me sleep in their spare bedroom, and I'd come down and, they'd pack my lunch. They'd have a lunch for me to take to work. And I just didn't give up, I let people take care of me, I let people love me. And I see that that's the difference of the people who stay. They get right here, but they don't let us in that, they show up, they do that, but they don't let us love them. And I see what happens. And it's, just a little crack is all we need. We just need a little crack, because then you're going to crave it. If you're a real alcoholic, you're going to crave it. Once you feel it, you're going to crave it. Trust me. And you're going to want to give it back. You're going to need to give it back. It's funny. It's like we were talking about this recently. It's like when a sponsee's not calling and a sponsee's not working steps, and you want to say, rattle their cage and say, it's like I almost want to say to them, listen, I have to give it away. I have to. And if you don't want it, I got to go give it to somebody. And it's nothing personal, but I have to give it away. And it's not just to stay sober. It's like it becomes who you are. And anyway, I started to live a life of selflessness, and it started with them telling me to get over myself. The world didn't revolve around me. And I was like, what are you talking about? I'm a caring, loving, I'm thinking, well, I had no idea until God got started shifting that part of my spirit. I didn't know I did things because I had strings attached. I didn't know that I manipulated situations to get what I wanted. I had no idea that that was inside of me. And, I started to let that stuff go. And I'm telling you that, I'm living right now with a society that says you need a me day. You need to take care of yourself. You need a me day. I do not need a me day. I don't. I need to go to the gym, or I need to do something like recharge my battery, and I need to do that, but I don't need to sit around and just focus on me for a day. I really don't. I need to get out of self, and not in a codependent way. Not in a codependent way. Not in a way where I need to get so into your life that I'm not taking care of my spirit. Just in, that's where the joys come from me. That's where the peace comes for me. There are so many different ways that I've watched the girls that I sponsor find God. They all have their path, but they all can get that sunlight of the Spirit, and when it happens, you have to do it. You have to be there. And to watch them do it for someone else, that's how you tell if you're a good sponsor. Who are you girls sponsoring? Who are your guys out there? Are they going to institutions? Are they going to the rehabs? John and I started our relationship in AA. I was recently divorced. He was getting ready to leave his wife and at the time, and our sponsors were married, and they said to John, well, Renee just got through this, so maybe you want to talk to her and see how she's doing it, because she's getting by okay. And so he started to call, and I'd say, go to therapy, do whatever you get some outside help. It's the worst. It's the worst. Do whatever you can to save it. And they did try, but it didn't work out too bad. And he fell in love with my daughter. He fell in love with my 6-month-old baby Brenna first. And that's okay. And we started our AA journey together. And we went to therapy for as long as we could before we started any intimate type of relationship. I think it was the longest either one of us had ever lasted, but we try. And in October we'll have been married 20 years and together 23, and we had 2 more beautiful children. And our path has been rocky in sobriety as a couple and as individuals. I've been able to, not just with John, but in my path in sobriety, I feel like God has given me a gift to be able to forgive the people and situations that have happened in my life that some people never get the opportunity to do. And I thank God that I was, able to find those places in my heart that, were in the easier, softer way would have been, I'm out of here. And that's not just in my marriage. I'm talking with people in my life. I grew up with that single mom who, had a Porsche, but we had no food in the house. She had designer clothing, and, we had ketchup in a box of cereal and roaches in our house. And we grew up, on the other side of the train tracks, and, a lot of resentment, a lot of, I wish sometimes that Porsche would burn on the side of 270, and if my mom was in it, that would have been fine. And, what she passed on to us about, sex and love and relationships wasn't right. And, I had to let all that go. And I remember turning in that victim card one day, and it was like, I just thought, well, if I let it go and I heal from this, then that in some way was going to be saying it was okay. And I didn't want to say it was okay, because it's not okay. It's still not today okay. But something happened, something shifted when I finally healed enough to let that victim card go. And I started to be able to love my mom and accept my mom for exactly who she was and what God was doing in her life. And I remember when the Porsche was getting ready to be traded in, and she was going to finally not be able to drive it because she had a walker and all this stuff, and she was still trying to drive that car. And this was about 3 years ago, and I said, Mom, I can't let you get rid of that car. And I went down there and I drove it back up to Maryland from South Carolina. And I cried the whole way, and I'm thinking, I had a sentimental attachment to that car just because, what it meant. And I loved my mom in a different way, and I shifted that perspective, and, it was what it was, and that was a big thing. And I'm going to sell that car now because, I don't even need that car today. 3 years later, I don't need a car to have an emotional feeling about what's transpired between my mom and I the last 3 years. The car can go. There's no materialistic thing that can represent where my mom and I have come in our relationship and the shift of the Spirit that God has caused in our life. And there's no material thing that will represent that ever. And and what had happened was she started to have some more strokes, and I went down there and I started taking care of her, and I would just leave, and I have a saint of a husband who would just hold down the fort, and I'd stay with her, and she'd get back on her feet, and then I'd come home, and the last time it just happened, she's been with me for the last 4 months, and I'm loving on this woman, and I'm taking care of her, and I'm just loving her the way God intends us to love. And my kids are confused. My kids are mad. They're like, she's treated you like crap, Mom. We never could stay more than 2 days down there to visit her because I had like a 3-day limit. I'd get in and out, and she's an alcoholic if you can't decipher that from what I'm saying. They'd get scared, and we'd be out of there. And I've been with her every single day for most of the hours of the day for the last 4 months. And I put my life on hold to be there for the woman that gave birth to me. And it's an honor. It's not, everyone's like, you need to take a break. Oh, it's so good you're going to Annapolis, you get a break. I don't feel that at all. I feel like, how can I not do that? With joy in my heart. Not like take the pillow and, or miss the medicine and anyway, I just, and my brother came for some of the surgery at Hopkins, and he flew in from Arizona, and he's mad, and he's angry, and he made it worse. And I just was like, go home. I got it. It's okay. And, he's just like, if you want to put her in a nursing home, it's fine. I don't know how you're doing that. And I am so grateful for this program and for the relationship I have with God that I don't have that in my heart, and I'm just, I know it's for me, the drink is so, I know I can drink again because I've seen people drink after 25 years. I've been in the rooms. I know what happens. I had the Ritalin talk with myself not too long ago. I needed to get the storage bin cleaned out, and I wanted the house painted. I wanted the yard done, and I thinking, I have ADD. I have ADHD. If I went and talked to someone right now and didn't lie and told them what goes on in my head, I'd get whatever I want, and I wouldn't be lying. And I would tell them exactly what I am and how long I've been sober, and I'd still get what I wanted. And I shared it, and it was a thought, and I shared it at a meeting, and, God had his little Eskimo there and told me his Ritalin story. He's my Ritalin buddy. And I was like, that's not really what I wanted, but it was just like, it's that shift in, I can do other things to get out of that thing that are in my body that tells me I'm not good enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not blonde enough, I'm not blue-eyed enough, I'm not enough. And I have a disease that wakes up every day and it says to me, your husband's going to pick her. Your mother's going to pick your brother. My father's going to pick my stepmother. The kids are going to pick my husband. Like, I'm not the favorite. And something shifted at me at 15 years sober, and it was, I'm God's favorite. I'm God's favorite. And I don't ever doubt that for a second. And so, we get married, we have these AA kids, and we're, very active in AA in Gaithersburg. We're having everyone over on Friday night, and we're playing cards, and, up until this point, this is about 10 years sober, and I'm still not laughing much. And every year, I'm just like, to my sponsor, I'm like, I gotta loosen up this year. I'm gonna loosen up this year, I'm gonna tell a joke, I'm gonna be sarcastic, I'm gonna get it. I know I'm gonna get it. And it never happened. And I'm just like, something shifted in my soul, and it was like, God made you exactly the way you're supposed to be. And I can enjoy, thank God for last night. Stephanie, I was laughing my heart out, and it's like medicine. And it just doesn't happen to me every day. That's okay. It doesn't have to. I don't have to continually try to be something that I'm not. You want to handle some serious stuff, call me. We're going to handle some stuff. And, and if you want some sarcastic, fun, go-lucky stuff, I've got great people that I can introduce you to. It's just not going to be me. And so anyway, and things are going along great, and all of a sudden, we build this beautiful home, and all of a sudden my car keeps getting repossessed out of the driveway, and I'm out there trying to get the book bags out, and I'm going, what's going on? The lights are getting turned off in the wintertime, and I knew there was money in the bank, and I'm like, what's going on? And, I was living in a home that had another addiction going on that had money involved, and it was a great time for me to shift that part of me that I didn't have to play the victim. I didn't have to make it about me. And I knew addiction, and I knew that, my husband wasn't doing anything to me. And we healed through that fine. and we got all the stuff back because thank God they told us, do not attach your sobriety or happiness on stuff because that stuff will come and go. And they aren't kidding. And okay, so then it happened again, and I wasn't too sure, that 5 years passed and the same stuff, not for the same reasons, but, the stuff had to go again. And I pouted this time because I really liked that black Suburban. I was pissed. And, I was like, how many rehabs that took girls to? And I went to the streets of Baltimore and I picked up those girls off the street and I never turned down a call and, people got sick in that car. I mean, I never put that before God. Why is it leaving? And my sponsor said to me, you stayed sober. That wasn't, that stuff, that's what you got. You got to stay sober. Okay, so it's like putting your money where your mouth is, I mean, I'm not attached to that, but I pouted a little bit. And, God took, and if you want that stuff, you can get it back, and I got it back better. I got something newer, I got something with less miles, and it was great. And, I just had to fully surrender, and it's been all part of the journey. And then at 15, 16 years sober, I found out why you do 4 steps in AA. I do them because I wanted to stay sober for so many years. I did them to get to know God more. I got to know Him, I did them for all these different reasons. And I had something go down, there was a betrayal in my marriage, and I was broken. My heart was broken. I never thought a broken heart was a physical thing, and it was physical. And I got with God like I had never gotten with God again. I think that was probably the biggest shift in my sobriety, and it came from the worst pain physically, emotionally, mentally that I'd ever gone through in my life. And God put me back together in such a beautiful, magnificent way, and He brought my family so close. And I will never say I'm grateful for the activities that happened to cause that, but I will, till the day I die, be so grateful for what He did with that situation and how He transformed everything in my life through that pain. And, it took years, just like the book said, and just like the professional said. I mean, it took years and years and years, and the whole journey was fabulous. And there was like this one little piece left. I can't describe it. It wasn't like an alcoholic holding on. It was just this little space. I was loving the kids again because, it totally shut me down. I couldn't even love my children. And if anyone knows me and my kids, I couldn't even love my children the way that I had loved them their whole life because there was just something blocking. And I got a phone call, and my husband said, I'm going to bring this kid up. I want to help him from Florida. And he's going to show up, and he'll stay about a week or so. I'm going to put him up with Justin after a week or something like that. I said, sure. Getting Brenna home from college that same weekend. And so I'm moving her back, and this guy's coming. And, he was there a year. And what happened in that situation wasn't convenient the time he came. And I'm calling my sponsor hysterical. My father had just gotten diagnosed with metastasized prostate cancer, and I'm back and forth with the hospital. It was a big deal. And, my daughter's coming home, and it just wasn't convenient. The basement was a mess, and my sponsor said, look, the Pope is not coming. He's been homeless. Clean out a little space and give him a bed, and he's going to be so grateful to be with you. And I'm like, yeah. So I do what I always did. I called my girls that I can count on, and they did it with me. They showed up. We cleaned the basement. I got them in there. And that last piece of crack opened. And it came through some complete stranger, this kid from Florida who had nothing. We were buying toothpaste, toothbrush, underwear. My kids are bringing clothes down from upstairs. That last piece healed, and the love that I finally, who knew? I thought it would come from a book. I thought it would come from therapy. It came from this kid that just brought my family, my kids will tell you that was still the best year of probably their life at that house. There was so much love and so much acceptance. And, I just don't know how it's going to come. And it's those experiences that I have to remember so that when God's sending me the next thing, I can't say, oh, my balance, it's not a good balance right now. I hear people, I need balance. I'm like, what the heck? If I had done that, that kid wouldn't have been with me. I would have said, no. My balance is not, that's too much. And it's so important, and so when I got that call 4 months ago, and my mom's like, I think something's wrong. I think I have cellulitis in my feet or whatever. Something wasn't, that sixth sense my kids tease me about all the time. And when your channel's clear and you're close to God, you just know. The Spirit can move through you, and you just know. And you know when that girl needs a hug, and you know when that phone call needs to be made. And they'll say, how did you know to call me? If you're listening and you're seeking, it happens. And I went down, I said, I gotta go, John, I gotta go check this out. And this vascular surgeon said, you need to put your mom in the car and take her straight to Hopkins University. And I did what I know how to do. I went to the neighbor who I knew had relapsed, that I had tried the 12-step call many times. I got some really good drugs. I put her in the car. I drove 9 hours to Hopkins. And the rest has been history, and she's now in my dining room on a hospital bed with hospice, just giving her some grace and dignity at the end. And I didn't ask for that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do it, but how can I not do it? How can I not do it? And in the meantime, I still got these 3 great kids. I still get to sponsor these amazing, beautiful women who show me every single day, how to walk through fear and find God. And I had an experience not too long ago that, I'm standing there with this woman at the magistrate, and we're trying to get a restraining order on her husband who had gone back out after a long period of time. And we get that, and I go with this woman, and I'm telling her, you don't have to do this alone. God's got you, God's got you. And I walk with these women. I mean, I'm the one, I'm the girl to call when we're going to go down to Baltimore, we're going to go in front of the nurses board, or we're going to go to the judge, and we're going to go, I like to be in the dirt. I like to go where it's dark. And we went to court one day, and the husband walks in, and he just looks, disease has got him by the ass, and he looks like an animal. And I cried all day after I left there, and I'm just like, this guy is not even a human being, and I know he loves these kids, and I know So a couple months later, and we're down there getting him out of a rehab center in Nashville, Tennessee, and I do the 12-step. We get home from the facility, and she's on her 12-step, and I thought, how appropriate is this? And we're laying in beds, and we're reading the 12-step together, and she had cracked her heart open just enough to try a little bit more and just try one more time to keep that family together. And I thought, how can you tell me there's no God? How can you tell me that there's not enough healing and enough power greater than ourselves to do good? You can't tell me that it won't happen. And it's times like that when you show up and you walk with people through that replaces that dark, dingy hole that alcohol could never fix. And that's what keeps me here. It just keeps me here. I think that, God puts me here for a reason. I don't ever doubt that, and I know that with His power I can do anything, and it never stops. He always gives me what I need, and He throws me a bone. It's like, I know, He knows when I'm set, okay, the bone's coming. I trust it now. I know it's coming, and I don't want to cheat myself. It's like I missed going to a women's meeting I was asked to lead last Monday, and it took me 5 days to calm down. And it wasn't because they missed me. I cheated myself from being there. And I knew, those types of things now, it's not about, God has another speaker. God will take care of that. I missed out on it. I live my life today that, when something isn't rung up at the cash register, I say, you forgot that. Because you know what? For years in this program, I was like, at first I never said anything, then I had to drive back and tell the people, and then I was switching tags, and I don't want to live like that anymore, So it's like, wow, that was really nice. I'm like, no, I can't do it. I just can't do it. I lay down at night, and I can always see Him. If I haven't felt Him all through the day, I can always look back on my day and see every little space, nook, and cranny that He led my day. Most days I can feel it as I'm going through the day. But sometimes at the very least I can look back and see where He's just, and each of those days I'm transformed. I'm a little different. I'm a little out of self. I'm a little more God conscious. I have a marriage today that, we can talk, we can trust, we can, I'm going through all this, and, there were years not too long ago that, we call them the mean voices would be talking in my head, and I can just say to myself today, no, you don't have to have that conversation in your head. You can count on him. And we always tease, not tease, but a little bit, what are you going to do when your dad's not here anymore? I'll say to him, what am I going to do? And he'll say, well, maybe you'll have to depend on me a little more like you depend on your dad. And I depend on you more than you know. It's just, I can never, ever, ever express in words the healing and the forgiveness that God can put in your heart if you give him the space. I've had people come in and out of my life through sponsorship that I have no doubt that God sends them, and you don't know how long people are going to be in your life or how quick or slow, that relationship might happen. But I never question it again. I never question it anymore. I'm actually sponsoring a woman who I used to babysit as a child. How our paths crossed again, I have no idea. I used to drink her parents' liquor and be in blackouts by the time those parents got home. I almost burnt down her kitchen. I've recently been with a woman who found God in my basement working the steps. We had a group take the steps through my basement, and, watching that happen and seeing what's changed in her life today. I mean, how can you not be a part of that? How could you cheat yourself out of that? So I will tell you too, what happens is that my daughter just recently started talking to someone, and she told me the other day, she said, I guess they call it talking, I don't know, and she said, he calls in the morning and we pray together. And I'm like, what? 23 years old, they haven't really even gone on a real physical date yet because he doesn't live in this state, but they're praying together on the phone. Like, who knows what's going to happen? But that's amazing to me. When John and I pray together, powerful things happen, and here's this 23. I wasn't doing that at 23, I can tell you that. And so anyway, I cannot count the blessings that this program has given to me. I know without my sobriety and without the things that I lovingly, openly, inconveniently want to do, I get blessed beyond my wildest dreams, and I don't give up 5 minutes before the miracle. And 5 minutes is not just 5 minutes. Sometimes it's 5 months. Sometimes it is 5 seconds, but it doesn't seem to be my case. Sometimes it's 5 years, but I don't want to miss what he has in store for me. I thank you again. After last night's talk, I said, John, who can you get here quick? Who can you get here quick? And it's not about me, this is the thing I hate the most, because I don't want to sell God short. I'm a human, and I don't want you to get I take the responsibility of passing on AA very seriously. I don't want to give a message that's not full of hope or love or, watered down, or, it's so vitally important to me today to represent Alcoholics Anonymous in the way it's supposed to be and it deserves to be. And I thank you guys very much.